What kind of questions, concerns do you guys have about responsive? What do you want to hear more about in the next session? What are you hoping to get out of this?
Anybody? Come on. Jess has a question.
There are points in time of actually when a project comes in, and this may not be a question that you guys can specifically answer, but I think it's something that some of us creative people always kind of start thinking about, is when a project comes in and when it's time to estimate out hours and what needs to be laid out. And it may be more of a conversation of everyone on this phone or kind of tips and stuff. At the point of that estimating, we may not know if it's an adaptive site or a responsive site, right? So if it's an adaptive site, or it may entail some more hours or more files needing to be laid out. For example, with the TD site, it was a responsive site, but the client wanted to actually see mock-ups for a desktop version, a mobile, right?
That's fine.
Mobile version and a tablet. So if we're going to move into that kind of sense of we're not, there's not one mobile size, there's not one tablet size. I think it would still be helpful if there was a recommendation of what size to mock up, because even though I know you don't want to use those terms, the client needs to see.
I understand. I totally understand.
Yeah, I think the main part, the deliverables we're trying to move towards as the standard are a mobile kind of small screen design. Maybe, I hate using one device as the example, but let's face it, the iPhone is what the client usually asks for.
Right.
And then one larger screen design, the proxy for desktop. Those are generally the only two deliverables I'd recommend. If they ask for a tablet, it's going to be rough because in the end, we don't know how the actual responsive design, depending on which version of the iPad you have or which, Android, you don't necessarily know. So it might be something, but if you need to provide something to them before something's built, I would almost say either just kind of shrink down your desktop size a bit and put it in a tablet and then say, it might look more like this. The mobile version, it might look more like the desktop version.
Right.
I can't guarantee because it's a fluid site.
Yeah.
And then with that, for the iPhone, horizontal and vertical.
Just vertical.
Vertical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to get that kind of.
Yeah. Because again,
as deliverables go, iPhone or 320 by 480, and maybe a 1024 and higher for desktop, and then working with the development team, we'll flesh out everything in between, essentially.
Right. Because again, part of this is education to the account teams and to the clients, and they have to understand that we're not going to be able to promise your site will look exactly like this on your iPad. We can't promise that. So we don't, with the mock-ups, we want to try to educate. We understand there will be clients who will want to see XYZ. Fine, we'll show you that. But in the end, they have to understand it's going to look different on different devices.
So then if we're estimating out things, it may be best to think about estimating out layouts for an iPhone vertical and a desktop layout.
Yep.
Yeah, those being the...
That's true whether it ends up being adaptive or responsive.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just the thinking.
Yep.
Yeah, I think adaptive versus responsive, that discussion kind of more comes in once there's a design that the client really likes, and we're moving into more of the stage of, okay, we know we can build this. Are we going to be able to build it so that it's totally fluid, or is this design, it's got a lot of grids, it's really tight, maybe we can just do bam, bam, bam.
Maybe when we're having those early discussions with the clients, we should avoid the term responsive, because we don't know if it's going to be responsive or not, because the design hasn't been finished yet. We have no idea which direction it's going to go in. So maybe perhaps mobile friendly or something along those lines is probably a wiser thing to say. because it will be mobile friendly regardless of what we
Right.
build, you know?
Actually, I have a question on the questions panel, which I kind of haven't been checking the entire time. I apologize. I saw the other questions from DC, wondering where my screen was an hour ago. But Stephen asks, what is a carousel? And just to give you... What's a site that has a carousel on it? I can pull it really fast.
Does Verizon have one?
Oh, yeah, Verizon.com/jobs.
All right.
Capital One has a carousel too.
Right.
So this is a carousel. You've got rotating content. It goes through 3 different ones. Whee! Oh, I know what other site has a carousel.
But even go to tp.com.
But you're saying a lot of content heavy, copy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot that.
Yeah, this has a carousel. I knew of one. Which one? TMP. Yeah, TMP.com also has a carousel.
And so the one down at the
This thing.
baseline, I think
yeah,
think you were referencing
Actually,
more of
click a link.
the bottom ones.
That's a little bit. Wait, well.
Oh, yeah, it's
okay.
got
Click
the
one of
little-
these guys here.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I think in
Yeah,
a
at the
previous
bottom.
discussion about what I actually had with you,
Mhm.
SF, is that the one on this base of TMP, it's more so of when a carousel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the carousel of where it's a quick link into it's not like the branding content like what a lot of our
Mhm.
of those first examples of what you showed
Yeah.
of where
Here we have
it
core
cycles
content.
through that kind of
Yeah.
gives a branding element. I think what you were referencing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is on the base of tmp.com, these are quick links in, and people may not continue to go through to see all these quick links because there's not that much interest.
Yeah. This is down here. This is kind of like
versus,
this is
animated panel.
this is your sidebar content. This is, stuff that's kind of nice to know, but it could like sit on around the line, but it isn't stuff that you necessarily expect the user to drill down into. What I'm talking about with avoiding carousels is when you have, almost, with this, when you have like really core content, you want the user to see all of it. You don't want to have it so that they have to be hunting through it. If there's a message or something that you want out there, you want it to be right on the page so they don't have to click through, because you can't guarantee that they'll do that kind of horizontal navigation, that click through. But if they're on a smaller screen, most people will, it's almost like, the zombie movie, just flick your thumb up and look at everything. So there's a better chance that the user will actually see that content.
So then are you saying then for here, then TMP site should have had all of these stacked on top of each other?
Well, what happens on, and I don't know if we'll get, because this might actually have something where,
This is an adaptive site.
This is an adaptive site. Yeah.
Well, kind of, sort of.
But even if you go to the ESON site example,
Yeah.
of that top branding panel, that rotating piece, a lot of the times the reasoning why there's that 3 thing is because there's different audiences looking at this.
Right.
So sometimes you can't.
That might have been something where we go back to the content stage and say, is there one kind of universal branding message that can encompass all of this? Because here we've almost got kind of 3 different core site branding messages, and stacking them up would just, stacking them up would be a little inconvenient. Just because, these are really big panels, and when are you actually going to get to the entire point of the site, which is down here, search jobs.
I think we're up against that.
We're up. It's definitely, I'm not,
understand that.
I'm not saying that we're going to be able overnight to snap our fingers and say, okay, the client's going to do this now. The client is going to do whatever the hell they want. Let's be very honest. We just have to help educate them and help try to slowly get them to understand, is there a way we can maybe trim this content down? What's the one core message? Is there something that we can move around? What's most important? Get them to focus. Because again, we're TMP, we're the digital
brand authority.
We're the digital brand authority. They're coming to us to build the best website to connect with their users on the best way. So we want to explain to them, this is how you can really connect to your users on the best way. And I've said it a million times. I'm a user interface developer. I'm not a client interface developer. So at the end of the day, my goal isn't to see, the client has a website that like looks really good or, it has all the like branding and all the corporate buzzwords, everything they wanted. I want a site that delivers the content to the user.
Right. And happy users equal happy clients, which hopefully equals happy TMP.
Yes.